Thank you very much, and we're going to start our program right now. Thank you again for all being here. As I mentioned earlier, this is our 4th annual, and we've got a fantastic crowd here tonight. Let's give Don and Brenda another hand for the wonderful job. We haven't had music before, and we're going to make this an annual thing as well. Introductory music, they did a great job. My name is Patrick Lutz, and I'm the president of the Dodge County Historical Society. And people ask us all the time, why don't you do this at Halloween? Well, if you think about it, there are some years you'd be sitting in snow, and you would probably have to have a big parka on, stay nice and warm, because many times it's pretty cold on Halloween. But that's not the whole story. It's because we have kind of like Halloween here all the time. We have spooky things that happen in our museum that we cannot explain to anybody. We can't figure it out. Time and time again, people will ask us, well, tell us the story, or where these things happen, and we show them to them. So we have a lot of hot spots in the museum. We've had paranormal people here that have checked out our museum, and they say there's something quite unusual about this building. So we're going to tell a couple of stories about things that have happened within our building. And before I do that, just a couple of housekeeping things that we need to take care of. We have lots of great snacks back there. We have candy and soda and water. So anytime, don't worry about interrupting people. Just get up and move around. And if you need to use the restroom, that's back there as well. So we will get the show started. Before I do that, though, I want all the board members to raise their hand, because they are such a big part of putting this all together. So raise those hands nice and... All right. Thank you all so very much. We couldn't do this without their help, and it gets bigger and better every year, and it's because of them. So we thank you very much. Tomorrow, right on this stage, there's going to be a band playing, and many of you have heard of them or seen them, the Characters, and they've been around for quite a few years, and they'll be here from 1 until 3. Because tomorrow is our lawn party. So we go right from this activity right to a fantastic lawn party with antique cars. We have an antique fire truck. One of the things we have to thank one of our board members for sponsoring that is right here is Glenn. We've been doing this for probably 20 years. Free root beer floats. That's a great thing for, so yeah, I can give that a nice round of applause. That's a good thing to do. So we'll have that, and we also have a horse coming tomorrow as well. It's a horse, a trap horse, which means it's a horse racing rig, and that'll be out front. That's always a fan favorite, and they'll be there as well. But lots of great antique cars, and so you can check that out. And lots of new exhibits in the museum, so I want you to check that out as well. So hope to see many of you here tomorrow. It starts at 10 until 3, but the music will be right here on this stage, and everything is free. So it'll be a fun day to check out downtown. There's certainly a lot going on. So I'm going to talk about my latest thing, and I've mentioned it before, is my thing seems to be lost and found. And what I mean by that is I sometimes lose things in the museum, and then all of a sudden they'll be right in front of me in a place that I've looked at many, many times in the past. But also I've found things in the museum, and things that not necessarily I was really planning on having them there, but I find things, and I'm going to show you one of them. I found this interesting thing. I'm not going to play any music on it or anything, but this is a chronometer, and the strangest thing about my story about this is I needed this for a prop. Next fall, my wife's going to be directing a play at the community theater, and I'm in charge of the sets and the props, and I needed one of these, and I looked on eBay, and they were quite a bit of money, and one day I went down to the basement. It's my least favorite place to be in the building, and I was looking at some shelving, and there it was, just laying on a shelf, and a shelf that I'd walked by and looked at many, many times, and there it was. So that's my story. Strangest thing, it happens to me all the time. I'm at the point too where I lose things all over the house too at home. But this particular time, now I have a prop, I don't have to buy one. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt now.
Thanks for coming out tonight, guys. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kurt Sampson. I'm the curator of the museum here at the Dodge County Historic Society. And I've been here for about 17 years now. It's hard to believe that I've been here that long. So I'm the person who primarily is in the building most of the time and during the odd hours of the day and the longest. And when I first came here back in 2008, Mary Beth was still our curator. And one of the first things that she told me was that, you might not believe it, but this place is haunted. And I was skeptical, just like anybody else would be. And she said, when you take over as curator, I'm telling you things are going to start happening to you. And I took it with a grain of salt, and I thought, well, okay, we'll see what happens. And I actually worked here for about 2 years before anything really happened to me that I actually noticed. But what I want to talk about today is some of the things that have happened in the last 6 months. And we do have paranormal activity that happens in the building, whether you believe that or not. And one of the things that I can tell you that happens regardless of who you are, if you are in this building after, say, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, right around this time, I can tell you the demeanor in this building completely changes. It gets very heavy in there, and it feels almost oppressive in some ways. And something is telling you that you need to leave. And it's happened to me on several occasions, and it's happened to just about everybody that has been on our board. So there is an overall creepy feeling to the building in the evening, and you also have a feeling that you're being watched most of the time when you're there, even during the day sometimes. And I'm constantly thinking that I'm seeing things out of the corner of my eye, movement, black shadows and things. We have seen black shadow figures in the building over the last couple of years. And interestingly, when we've done a lot of work on this building over the last couple of years, new roof, new windows, paint job, a lot of interior work on the ceilings and things, and exhibit work, oftentimes when you have these old buildings, they often say that there's an uptick in activity that sometimes happens when you start messing around with buildings like this, and that seems to be kind of the case in our case. But interestingly, we do have security cameras in this building, and for the very first time, about 3 months ago, we actually caught something paranormal on our camera for the very first time. And it wasn't something really scary, but it was something that could not have possibly happened by itself. And basically what it was is we had these heavy bookshelves that were leaning up against a wall, basically. And I was in my office, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, from around the corner by my desk, I heard this very loud bang on the floor. And I got up and I walked around the desk, and I'm looking around. I didn't see anything, but then I looked on the floor, and there were these bookshelves that had fallen over. Now, feasibly, they could have slid down the wall the opposite way, but these went the other way. So the first thing I did was go over to my desk where the security camera is, turn it on, go back through the film, and you can see these boards just go by themselves. Now there's no way that could have happened. And the other time that this happened, we had some old pound posts that we were cleaning out the swan closet with, and we had these leaned up against the wall where they could not have fallen back the other way. And they were actually wedged in a corner between two cases because we were cleaning out the room to restore the ceiling, and these were forcibly thrown down on the ground, hard, not just kind of sliding and falling. These were bang on the floor. The other thing that's happened to me recently, this happened about, I think it was about 3 weeks ago now. I had just gotten back from Hawaii and was in the building about late. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening. And there's been 3 separate occasions where I've heard disembodied voices in the building, and it's always a woman. And when you go out of my office door, the balcony is right there, the under balcony of this part of the building right here. And when you turn the lights off under there, it gets very dark under there, even during the day, if you're way back in there. And sometimes at 4 or 5 o'clock at night, when people are still in the building, I won't realize that there's people underneath here, and I'll turn the lights off. And I'll turn the lights off on people so they'll say, hey, I'm still under here or whatever. Well, the other night, this was on a Saturday, and I was going to leave. It was about 5 o'clock, and I was going to turn the lights off, walking across the room. And I'm telling you, I very distinctly heard a woman's voice say, what are you doing? So much so that I turned around. It didn't startle me because my first thought was, I turned the lights off on somebody, right? Well, I turned and looked. Nobody was there. And I walked back over towards the balcony, looking around in the dark back there. There's nobody back there. And I, so again, went back to the security camera, and you can totally see me reacting to this voice. I totally turned and looked. And if anybody knows me, like a lot of the board members do, I'm deaf as a doorknob. But I heard this voice, I'm telling you. The other thing that happens is we have a lot of like really unusual loud bangs in the building. Like you'll just be sitting there and all of a sudden you'll just hear this bang like upstairs. And it's like, what the heck was that, right? And you look at the security cameras and you don't see anything, but you go up there and it sounds like somebody almost takes like an old-fashioned dictionary book and just goes bang on the ceiling. But again, nobody's there, right? So those are some of the things that have happened more recently.
I'm gonna jump in here because
Hey, now.
I think they want to know,
Okay.
who's your little friend?
Well, we're going to get to that. And so
I think we should do that right now.
we're going to do that right now.
Right now.
Patrick's trying to move me along because I am wordy, right? So this is, she doesn't really have a name, but this doll is actually from the 1850s. It's one of our quote-unquote creepy dolls. And she was owned by a young girl named Cora Hoyt, who is one of the original families that came into Beaver Dam back in those days. And during Fall Fest, we are having our very first ever creepy doll contest at the Dodge County Historical Society. So any of you out there that have creepy dolls and you want to bring your doll down on either Friday the 24th or when we open up on Saturday the 25th for the Fall Fest activities downtown, bring your doll in. We're going to set them all up and we're going to judge them. There'll be 3 top prizes, $100 for the creepiest doll, $75 for the second, and $50 for the third. So there's incentive. I've been warned by numerous people that maybe this isn't a good idea, but we're going to chance it anyway.
Thank you, Kurt, very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kurt. The next is going to be Glenn Link. He's been a longtime board member, former president, and Glenn, take it away.
All right. This first story is actually one I told last year, but I still think of it, and it's just unbelievable to me. And you know, Pat talked about the basement, how he doesn't like it there, and Kurt talked about underneath the balcony. I agree with underneath the balcony in the back. That's where I had my experience. They went and we actually had, as they said, we've had some paranormal investigators here, and they have found some activity underneath the balcony. And one thing they had it is by a display for Edwin Harder, who was a gentleman here in Beaver Dam. He went and he was a very good musician. And when at age 15, he was going to Chicago and Milwaukee and playing with the big bands. Or actually, they weren't the big bands then. The big things that were popular were the cornet bands. But he went down to that. And then around the turn of the century, he actually started a university or a college. He has a college of music that was well attended. And so he was very much a musician. And sometimes he'd play on the circus wagons and everything. But so if you have a chance, look at his display. But why I bring him up is, as Pat mentioned, it takes volunteers for our organization. And one time I decided that the rugs hadn't been shampooed for a while. So I decided that I would come in on a Sunday evening because so they'd have time to dry, because we don't open again until Wednesday. So I'm just going away, doing the cleaning of the carpet, and I go, and all of a sudden I thought, that was music, what the heck? Or I don't have a radio or anything on, and this was getting later, like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden a motorcycle comes through. Actually, we've been lucky tonight. We haven't had any loud motorcycles, and when they see we're having something, they love to make their motorcycles even louder. But So I went and I heard the second motorcycle, and I thought, oh, it was playing loud music, and that's what it was. So I went back to cleaning the carpet, and I thought I heard the music, but boom, another motorcycle goes past, and I said, they're not going to fool me this time. I know it's off that motorcycle. And actually it happened the third time with the loud music. So I was happily going about cleaning the carpet. By this time, it's about 10 o'clock at night. Creepy place here at 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, I hear the music. And the music isn't coming from any motorcycle. And it's getting louder. And it's back in the corner where the Edwin Harder display is. And it was the old ragtime music from his time, from his era. And it was like there was a party going on in the corner. And I wasn't going to be part of that party. I got out of here very fast. And I don't scare easy. You know? Ask my wife. We've stayed in 3 of the most haunted hotels in the country, but so I don't scare easy. But something happened in the last year that's quite amazing. It actually happened to our treasurer, or Dean Tillema, who's in the back, but Dean won't come up here for some reason. He's sort of, he doesn't even know I'm talking about him now because he's there. But Dean was checking our volunteers donation box to see how much we had in it. We always can take more in it, but he was checking that. And we have some stuffed beavers on sale. And if you're interested, we have more. You can buy one. But they went, and he was reorganizing it, and he put the beaver up on the shelf, and then he went over to the box for the donations, which was like 8 to 10 feet away. And all of a sudden, that beaver was at his feet. You know, and a beaver falling off the shelf doesn't go that far. So, as Kurt mentioned, we now have a video system for, just for safety reasons. And Dean went back to watch the videos, and the video for that time, for about 5 minutes, it was nothing but static. Nothing else wrong with our video system, but 5 minutes of static. That's sort of unexplainable. So those are the stories I have.
Thank you, Glenn, very much. Just one last thing, and then we're going to get the show on the road. Kind of an interesting thing that happened to Dean and I. We just mentioned Dean. We're always doing changes, and we've been doing remodeling, and there was a particular door that we just thought, well, really, this doesn't meet our needs anymore. So we thought, well, we'll take it out to the restore. And so we piled a bunch of stuff in my trailer and took this door and stood it up. And I'm an Eagle Scout, so I know all the knots. And we tied it all up there, and we thought, okay, well, so we get out as far as the old shoe factory apartments, and the door fell over. And we thought, oh boy, we got a problem here. So we pulled over, and I retied it, and we tied extra knots, and we got out to the restore, and it was Monday. They're not open on Monday. So Tuesday, so we thought, okay, let's meet again. So we put more stuff in there to take to the restore, and I tied extra knots, extra rope, and we got to about the same spot again, and the door fell over. We went and looked at it, and all the knots had become untied, and so I tied them up again, and we took it out to the restore, and it was all untied again. So we put the rest of the stuff at the restore, took it in, we brought the door back. There it is. All right, with that, let's get going here. So I want to thank you so much for hearing our stories, and I'm sure we'll have more next year. But thank you, and Kevin Lukey, our wonderful MC, is going to take over.
All right, I am definitely out of that creepy doll contest. That is not for me, but it'll be awesome. No, that's all right, thanks. Welcome once again to the 4th annual Dodge County Historical Society Ghost Stories Festival. We are thrilled to have you here with us, especially as it's a little bit chilly and it feels like it might be Halloween. I had to chuckle just a little bit, and Patrick was saying that they don't have it because people might be bundled up in parkas, and I look over and I see some people bundled up in parkas, and I'm thinking, all right then. But here we are, and I want to thank you very much for being here. And we do have the snacks and the restrooms in the back, and we have a great festival planned for you. So thank you very much, Patrick, Glenn, and Kurt. And you definitely know why the museum doesn't have to wait for Halloween to tell those ghost stories. They have them 365 days a year. Now, our first performer this evening is going to be Mary Kaler with a very special story for the young people in the audience. Here she is to tell you the tale of The Little Old Lady Who Was Not Afraid of Anything, based on a book by Linda Williams. Please welcome Mary Kaler and friends.
Once upon a time, there was a little old lady who was not afraid of anything. She's coming up. Once there was a little old lady who was not afraid of anything. One windy afternoon, the old lady left her cottage and went for a walk in the forest to collect herbs and spices, nuts and seeds. She walked so long and so far that it started to get dark. There was only a sliver of moon shining through the night. The little old lady started to walk home. Suddenly, she stopped. Right in the middle of the path, there were two big shoes, and the shoes went clomp, clomp.
You two big shoes, get out of my way. I'm not afraid of you.
And on she walked down the path. But behind her, she could hear the two shoes go clomp, clomp. A little farther on, the little old lady stumbled into a pair of pants. And the pants went wiggle, wiggle.
Get out of my way, you pants. I'm not afraid of you.
And she walked on. But behind her, she could still hear those two shoes go clomp, clomp. And the pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle. Farther still, the little old lady bumped into a shirt. And the shirt went shake, shake.
You silly shirt, get out of my way. I'm not afraid of you.
And on she walked, but a little bit faster. But behind her, she still could hear the two shoes go clomp, clomp. And the one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle. And the one shirt go shake, shake. A little ways on, the little old lady came upon two white gloves and a tall black hat. And the gloves went clap, clap. And the hat went nod, nod.
Get out of my way, you two white gloves and your tall black hat. I'm not afraid of you.
And on she walked, but a bit faster. But behind her, she could hear the two shoes go clomp, clomp. And the pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle. And the one shirt go shake, shake. And the gloves go clap, clap. And the one hat go nod, nod. By now, the little old lady was walking quite at a fast pace. She was very near her cottage when she was startled by a very huge, very orange, very scary pumpkin head. And the pumpkin head went, boo! Boo! This time, the little old lady did not stop to talk. She did not stop at all. She kept going very fast. It became quiet. The little old lady came back. The next day, the little old lady was collecting herbs and spices, nuts and seeds again, and she heard the two shoes go clump, clump, and the one pair of pants go wiggle, wiggle, and the one shirt go shake, shake, and the two gloves go clap, clap, and the one hat go nod, nod. Ta-da!
Thank you for scaring the crows away.
The end. Thank you.
Okay, that was Mary Kaler and friends, including Christina Frake reading the story. And before we continue, I would like to once again thank the musicians who performed earlier for you this evening, Don and Brenda Krasnicki. And now, I would like to present local psychic medium and spiritual healer, Madam Adela Sear.
Hello, good evening. So when I was done with high school, I was back visiting my family, and I was coming out of the Beaver Dam Community Library. And coming down the path towards me was a little old lady, and she took very deliberate and cautious steps. She was going to get to where she was going in her own time. So she'd step, and she'd step, and she locked eyes with me as I walked down the sidewalk. And she looked at me like she knew me. She said, "Young lady, are you a descendant of Madame Crowell?" I said, "Yes, actually. That was my great-grandmother." "You look just like her." "Well, thank you. My daddy tells me that all the time." "Now, I'm wondering, do you have the gift?" "Well, what do you mean?" "Do you have the gift?" "Yes, I do actually." How do you know? Why do you ask?" "I saw your great-grandmother every week for 20 years. And she gave me such comfort that I was able to survive some very difficult times in my life. I don't know what I would have done without her. If you have that gift, my dear, it is your duty to share it with the world." I had never heard anything like this before. I spent my whole life kind of hiding things and not really talking about it with everybody. So this was a gift, actually, for me. This was someone giving me a blessing and permission to embrace who I am. So she very deliberately starts to walk past me. Now we are about halfway between the parking lot and the door of the library. And remind you that she walks very slow. And she gets past me, and I think, well, who is this lady? I want to know more about my great-grandma. I want to know who she is. I want to introduce myself and properly. And I turn around, and she is gone. Just gone. Now, she was as real as you and I. I had never seen anything like that before in my life. And I feel that that was my great-grandma's gift, sending one of her clients to me to let me know that, yes, I really need to embrace this, and I need to share this with the world. So I have a question for the crowd here. How many of you know a real live witch? Raise your hand. Wonderful, that's great. Good evening. My name is Madame Adela Sear, and now you all do. I am a green witch. I'm a psychic medium, a clairvoyant, and I'm gonna flash you my legs. And this is something that came to me naturally. What was hard was suppressing it, ignoring it, shoving it down, pretending it didn't exist. And a lot of people wonder, well, how does this happen? Well, it is a sixth sense that we all possess, and some of us are just a little more sensitive than others. I, myself, am what is called a highly sensitive person. I call that my brand of autism. It just means that I see, sense, feel, smell, taste things a lot more intensely than other people do. So, where does this come from? How does it happen? How does it happen that I can do this and some of you haven't developed this skill? I believe that it is my closeness to death. Over the years, I personally have had so many brushes with death, near-death experiences, that I have lost count. Some notable ones include my even being born in the first place. Now, my mother and father only wanted to have two children. The microphone's over here, sorry. And my mother's second pregnancy ended tragically. This little boy was going to be Brett, I believe. And that was, obviously, for any mother expecting, a very, very profound loss. For me, it was a gift. I would not be here had my mother had that child. So my life began with a death. 3 months after my birth, I became gravely ill with spinal meningitis, and my parents almost lost me. Did I know what was going on? No, I was just a happy little baby getting lots of attention in the hospital. Oh, yay! You want to stick something else in me? Okay. Yay! And I survived. Now, they weren't sure if I was going to be okay and what kind of a person I was going to be. Maybe I would have some delays. Little did they know how special I was to begin with. Now, growing up here in Beaver Dam, this is a very historic city. We have a deep past, not just with our current community, but with our indigenous community. We are on the lands of the Ho-Chunk peoples, and their lifestyle was a very egalitarian, wandering lifestyle. They had not semi-permanent settlements here around town. And I was down at Swan Park, where Dr. Swan had his springs and his hotel. And I was set beneath a tree, and I saw a medicine man in his full attire doing a dance down by the springs. Now, at the time, I was maybe 7 or 8. I thought, well, that's cool. That's fun. I want to go see who this is. I want to go dance with him. And when I went around a tree, he was gone. And I found out that none of my friends had seen him. So that was a really fun experience. Here at the museum, I have had the pleasure of experiencing Mary, the librarian. I will be upstairs, and I'll go into the little schoolroom because I have to go check in and say hello to my grandmother. Her picture's up there. And she will say, "Don't touch that." I wasn't touching anything. I'm sorry. And if I go into the war area, I will hear those bangs that Kurt hears late at night. And if I would go into the swan room, without fail, I would take a little measure, check in with all the dolls, because they used to put all the dolls on the chairs and the couches in the swan room. So I'd look and see, how are they all positioned? What's everybody doing today? And I'd go past them and I'd turn around and somebody would have changed position. Didn't matter. An arm would be up, a leg would be up, a head would be turned. One time a head was turned all the way around. So needless to say, I did not like the dolls in the museum. So when it was my first time to come and do readings here at the museum, I asked Kurt to please take the swan doll out of the swan room because he was creeping me out with his lovely little curly head of hair and his big blue eyes that follow you all over the room. So he got put behind the desk. And one of the things that I love about doing psychic readings is the healing that happens for people. There's a lot of unresolved things that people just don't have another opportunity to deal with. They get to talk to people that they didn't get to have their last words with. They get to get messages from people that they might have had a little snafu with or hard feelings for. And my job is to just share it. However it comes to me, share it. And one time I had a client and I looked at her and I said, "What is the deal with the rooster? I just keep seeing this rooster nipping at somebody's heels." And she started laughing hysterically. She said, "I hated that darn rooster. It was the bane of my existence. Every time I went outside, he would come and nip at my heels. And I was so scared of him until he became soup. And I ate him." She wasn't scared of him anymore. And the person who took care of that rooster for her was her late father. So he was giving her that message of, "I'm still looking out for you, and maybe you can have some chicken soup." So, as a witch, I identify as what is known as a green witch. Now, I'm not talking about green skin like the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm talking about Mother Earth. Green as in the plants that are around you and the ground beneath your feet. Green as in nature and Mother Nature. So I am an animist, and I believe that there is a divinity within all things, all animals, great and small, from the greater cosmos down to our divine Mother Earth, to the beautiful elephants who have family packs, and the whales who sing, whose sounds can be heard across the ocean, all the way down to the little microscopic organisms living within our bodies. We are all biomes, just like this living, breathing biome that is our planet Mother Earth. So that is where I'm working from. A deep, deep respect and reverence for the earth and each other, and with this beautiful hope for healing. So when I sit down with you, and I hope you'll come tomorrow, I'm here from 12 until 2. That is my goal, because if I can help you heal a little bit, then you're going to go out and help someone else heal a little bit, and they're going to go out and help someone else heal a little bit, and it's going to ripple outwards. So that is my goal, and I will close with this. The divine in me greets the divine in you. Blessed be, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Madam Adela Sear, and she'll be back tomorrow. All right. Now, looking around, I can tell that for many of you, this is not your first time attending our Ghost Story Festival. So, without a doubt, you will recognize our next performer, Jessica Schultz. She has been a part of this event for all 4 years. So I am a little bit jealous because I have only been the MC for 3 years. Been lucky enough to be invited back. And I missed out on that first year because I didn't know this was happening, despite the fact that 300 other people did. And I missed out. And that's not going to happen again. So spread the word to your friends so that we can keep this event growing. And for Jessica, when not telling ghost stories, you might just see her performing with Lake Country Players and Academy in Heartland, Wisconsin. And here's Jessica to tell us about Sophia's Room.
This story is one that I adapted from a book called Ghosts of Door County by Jerry Ryder. I live in a house that is over 100 years old. And the one thing in that house that will always remain the same is my room. I'm not going to tell you exactly where the house is because I don't want you venturing to my house, snooping around and changing the furniture in my room like others have done. It is crucial that everything remains exactly as it is. You see, I'm getting married soon, and this is how I plan to do my hair for my big day. Quite perfect, wouldn't you agree? Door County's most elegant lady must have the most elegant hairstyle. After all, Stanley and I are going to be on the front page of the newspaper, God's most perfectly matched couple. I have no doubt that our wedding photograph will one day be hung in an art museum for all to admire. I chose Stanley myself, you know. He alone matched me in looks and is the perfect gentleman. Tall, dark, and perfectly handsome in every imaginable way. Not to mention, he is going to be an officer on the Goodrich steamship line. Imagine the money we will have and the events we will be invited to attend. I have no doubt all of those officers are going to be jealous of Stanley with me on his arm, and every one of their wives envious of me. Stanley is away at present, but his ship is due back in port any day now. Oh, I can hardly stand waiting for the moment when he will be home. I will be the first by the docks to meet him. He will wrap me in his arms and say, "My beautiful Sophia," and I will say, "My handsome Stanley." And all the townspeople are going to be there watching us with stars of admiration in their eyes. I invited every single one of them to our wedding, and the entire celebration will be here at my parents' home. The servants have spent practically the entire spring cleaning and polishing the whole place from floor to ceiling. I, of course, handled everything regarding the room Stanley and I plan to share. We're only going to stay there a short time until we can find a place of our own. I bought delicate lace curtains for the windows, a new headboard for the bed, a new mattress, but the best things in the room are the huge oak wardrobe and the ornate highboy dresser. The highboy dresser is only for Stanley's things. What a catastrophic horror. That fateful day years and years ago. Stanley's ship came into port at last. I ran down to the docks, but it was the captain I met coming off the ship. He told me Stanley had nearly died saving a fellow crewman from a boiler explosion on board, and they had left him in Chicago at a hospital with severe burns. At that moment, my only thought was getting to Chicago so that I could hold my dear, sweet, handsome Stanley's hand while he recovered. I had my luggage on board the ship, and my bags were packed. Everything was ready to go when I met the cabin boy, and he told me he'd seen Stanley after the incident. His face had been burned beyond recognition, and his hair had been all charred away. no hair. I couldn't stand to hear one more word, so I fled from the ship and locked myself in my room. If Stanley was so disfigured the cabin boy could not recognize him, surely I would not either. What would the burns look like? Would he heal back to the handsome man I fell in love with? Or would he be permanently scarred? I decided I could not see him. What would Stanley think, or how would he feel? If I saw him and did not know him, he would feel terrible. So, I decided to stay. But certainly he would recover and return just as I remembered him. While he regained his strength, his face healed, and hair grew back, I would stay here in my room. His highboy would remain empty and ready for his return. Shortly after making this difficult decision, I received a letter from Stanley. It said, "My dearest Sophia, I await your arrival. The balm of your sweet smile and tender touch will speed my recovery so that we may be married soon. Yours always, Stanley." Yours always. I responded, "My poor Stanley, I cannot bear to see you in pain or think of your horrible burns. I await your return until you have recovered. Your loving Sophia." I really would have liked to be by his side, but I know if he had seen me perfectly healthy and perfectly beautiful, he would have felt depressed and inferior, and he would have broken off the engagement. I couldn't let that happen. With each ship came a new letter from Stanley saying, "My dearest, come to me, yours always," and I always responded, "My poor Stanley, wait, your loving Sophia." Of course, I felt guilty, but I was doing this for Stanley's own good. I only had his best interests in mind. Of course, I realized that I needed to find a way to prove to him the depth of my love and devotion to him and our future despite the uncertainty. So, the next letter I wrote from the bottom of my heart was, "My dearest Stanley, I count the days until you are able to return to me. I cannot bear to leave the house knowing you are still in pain. I stay in my room, the room we will soon share, dreaming of your coming. I shall wait for you forever. Your loving Sophia." This was his response. "You can wait forever, Stanley." "No, yours always, no, my dearest." That was the last letter I got from him, the last I heard from him at all. Rumors say he married his nurse from the hospital. I don't believe any of it. Stanley and I were meant to be together since the day we were born. I know it and Stanley knows it. He would not betray me by marrying a nurse. The truth must be, he felt so ashamed by his scarred appearance, he thought himself no longer worthy of me. He meant only that it might take what seemed an eternity for his face to heal and his hair to grow back. He wasn't really saying goodbye, just goodbye, only in the sense that I was free to choose someone else if I were to be unwilling to wait for him. But I will wait, Stanley, for as long as it takes. That is why I spend these endless days by the window in my room. I will be the first by the dock to meet him, and as soon as he gets off the ship, he will wrap me in his arms and say, "My beautiful Sophia," and I will say, "My handsome Stanley," and we will get married, and this room will be ready and waiting for us, perfect as ever. Stanley's highboy dresser will remain empty. Nothing except Stanley's clothes will fill that dresser. But it would seem no one understands exactly how important it is that nothing in my room is moved. One occupant of my parents' home was this woman named Helen. Helen remodeled the entire house except my bedroom, so I didn't completely mind her until her niece came to stay for Christmas. Helen aired out the room, dusted it, and moved Stanley's dresser to a different wall. And to make it worse, when Helen's niece arrives, she unpacks her clothes in Stanley's dresser. I did not have that dresser crafted for use by someone I have never met in my life. So, while Helen's niece is away, I pull the dresser away from the wall, tumble it onto the bed, and throw the clothes all around the room. By the time she comes back to see the fruits of my labor, it is a mess. But when Helen comes up to help her clean everything up, they do not put the dresser back in the spot I had chosen for it. They put it back in the spot Helen had chosen for it. I had to wait a few days, but I was able to do the same thing again. Dresser across the bed, clothes everywhere. And they seemed to understand after that and put the dresser back in the spot I had chosen for it. A while after that, months, years, what does it matter? I will still be waiting regardless. Helen's son Roy and daughter-in-law Carol move in. Carol buys this beautifully hooked rug, and she has good taste, I admit, so I didn't completely mind that she was going to add it to my room. However, she discovered that the rug did not fit between the dresser and the bed. So she had her husband Roy come upstairs and help her rearrange the entire room. So that night, I shoved the mattress half off the bed, yanked the dresser away from the wall, and for the grand finale, I pushed the huge oak wardrobe over onto the floor with a big bang. And by the time they get upstairs and they open the door, they have no idea what is going on. Their jaws practically hit the floor, and I think a few of Carol's hairs even turned white. The next day, I watched them clean up the mess, but they don't put everything back where I had placed it. No, they just pick it up and put it right back in the new spots they wanted them to be. It was taxing, but I was able to create the same disaster, complete with the wardrobe pushed over onto the floor with a big bang. After that, they put all the furniture back in their originally perfect places. Stanley's ship is due back in port any day now. I won't miss it. And everything will be absolutely perfect. Stanley will come back. I told him I would wait forever. What kind of person would I be if I went back on my word?
Jessica Schultz. Thank you very much, Jessica Schultz. Our next story is said to balance psychological dread with supernatural consequences. In 1902, W.W. Jacobs wrote his famous horror story, The Monkey's Paw. It has been scaring audiences ever since. Here to perform this cautionary tale are some of the all-stars of Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. There's Jennifer Bullig, Rick Ramirez, Zach Haima, Jim McMillan, and yours truly, Kevin Lipke. It was a dark and stormy night. The sound of heavy rain and wind can be heard with an occasional thunderclap. The Whites are nestled in their cozy living room. Mrs. White sits by the fire knitting, while her husband and son play a friendly game of chess.
It's not looking very good for you, Dad.
Could you please be quiet? I'm trying to concentrate. Listen to that wind howling out there.
Yes, I hear it. Just make your move, Dad.
He won't show up in a storm like this, I bet.
Maybe, maybe not. Your move, Dad.
I know. There.
Are you sure? Check.
Oh,
Mate.
that's what I can't stand about living out in the middle of nowhere like this. Every time it rains, the road gets flooded and no one can get out here.
Oh, never mind, dear. Maybe you'll win the next game.
Oh. Well, I just wish they'd do something about it, that's all.
Huh. Sounds like you made it after all.
Sergeant Major Morris, come in out of the storm. This is my wife.
Yes.
And our son, Herbert. Fix the sergeant some tea. Second thought. Get the major a whiskey. Glad you made it. We didn't know if you'd come out in this storm.
Oh, storm. Pish. This little shower, you wouldn't think much of it if you were in the hold up in Bombay during the monsoon season. Now, there are some storms, let me tell you.
Did you live in India a long time, Sergeant Major?
Yes, I lived there for
21 years he's been gone. When he joined up with the Army, he wasn't a day older than Herbert. Neither was I, for that matter. We started out in the warehouse together.
Yes, time flies. Time flies.
Another whiskey?
Yeah, don't mind if I do. It takes the chill off.
You know, I'd like to go to India, see the old temples, maybe catch one of those holy men performing miracles.
No, you're better off here. The things I saw, wars, plagues, strange people.
But you must have all kinds of great stories to tell. The places you saw, the people you met.
Does he ever? What was the story you were telling me the other day, Morris? About a monkey's paw?
Nothing. Nothing worth hearing.
A monkey's paw?
Yeah. Well, it's just a bit of what you might call magic, I guess.
Magic.
Look, here. It's just an ordinary monkey paw all dried up. See?
Oh,
What's so special about it?
It feels like a dried up old paw.
Well, it had a spell put on it by a faker, an old holy man. He wanted to show that fate ruled people's lives and that anyone who tried to interfere with fate would be sorry. He put a magic spell on the paw so that 3 people could each have 3 wishes from it.
Well, why don't you wish on it?
I have.
and did you really have your 3 wishes granted?
I did.
And has anyone else wished on it?
The first owner had 3 wishes, yes. I don't know what the first 2 were for, but the third was for death. That's how I got the paw.
If you've had your 3 wishes, then why do you keep it?
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's been enough trouble already.
If you had 3 more wishes, would you use them?
I don't know. What I should do is throw it into the fire.
Hey, don't do that.
Let it burn.
If you don't want it, I'm gonna keep it.
Well, if you're smart, you'll throw it back in the fire. If you keep it, don't blame me for what happens.
Fine. Show me how you do it.
Hold it in your right hand and wish out loud.
Why don't you wish for an extra pair of hands to help me get supper on the table?
Here goes.
Stop.
Huh?
If you must wish for something sensible. But I don't want to be here to see it.
The four sit down to dinner to listen to more of the Sergeant Major's adventures.
And it took me 4 days to get out.
After supper, the Whites bid him goodbye, and they return to the comfort of their cozy living room.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good to see you.
Oh man, that Morris is quite the storyteller. Must have been the whiskey. For a minute, he almost had me believing in the monkey's paw.
Didn't you give that disgusting thing back to him?
I tried to, but he wouldn't take it. And he told me to get rid of it.
Get rid of it and give up our chance to be rich and famous and happy? Come on, Dad, make a wish.
I don't know what to wish for. I have everything that I want that makes me happy.
Ooh, you'd like to pay off the mortgage? Why don't you wish for 200 pounds then?
Oh, this is silly. No harm in trying, I suppose.
Oh, come on, Dad. We're waiting.
I wish for 200 pounds. Oh! It moved! When I made my wish, it twisted in my hand like a snake.
You must have imagined it.
No, I felt it move.
Well, I don't see the money, and I bet I never will.
I felt it move. I felt it move.
I don't know why we listen to that nonsense. And how could 200 pounds hurt you?
It could drop out of the sky and fall on your head.
Oh, Herbert.
Old Morris said things happen so naturally, you might think it was a coincidence.
Well, I've had enough of magic and fate and monkey's paws. I'm going to bed. And throw that thing in the fire.
Maybe there'll be a big bag of money in the middle of your bed. If not, you can try again tomorrow, Dad. But wait until I get home from work.
I'm telling you, it moved.
It is the next afternoon. The sun shines into the living room, where Mr. and Mrs. White are enjoying a cup of tea as they sort through the mail. The monkey's paw lies on a shelf, ignored.
Plenty of bills so far, but no check for 200 pounds. I suppose Herbert will have some of his funny remarks when he gets home from the factory.
I'm sure he will, but I tell you, that thing moved in my hand. I'd swear to it.
You just thought it did.
It did. There is no doubt in my mind. I had just made the wish.
That's strange.
What is it?
Well, there's somebody outside, a man in a business suit. I've never seen him before, and he's acting very strange. Well, it's if he can't decide whether to open the gate or not. Oh, wait. Oh, he's coming up the path now. Hello? Can I help you?
I was asked to come see you.
What's this about?
I am from Ma and Megan's.
Is anything wrong? Has something happened to Herbert? What is it? What is it?
Now, calm down. No point in jumping to conclusions. I'm sure our visitor hasn't brought us any bad news.
I'm sorry.
Is he hurt?
Badly hurt. But he is not in any pain.
Oh, well, thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. Oh no, my boy. Oh.
He was caught in the machinery.
Caught in the machinery?
Yes, and they were unable to...
Oh, my boy.
Oh, our boy, our only child. This is so hard. No.
The company wants to convey their sincere sympathy with you in your great loss. I hope you understand. I'm just doing my job. I'm supposed to tell you that Ma and Megan's disclaims all responsibility. They admit no liability, but in consideration of your son's work, they would like to give you a certain sum as compensation.
A certain sum? How much?
200 pounds.
Pa!
It is nighttime. A week and a half later, Mrs. White stands in the doorway, weeping as she looks out into the darkness. Mr. White comes downstairs and closes the door. A cold wind whirls outside.
Come back to bed. It's cold out there.
Colder for my son.
I know it's hard.
Oh, the paw, the monkey's paw. Where is it?
What?
I want it. You didn't get rid of it, did you?
It's upstairs, I think. Why?
Oh, I only just thought of it. Why didn't I think of it before? Why didn't you think of it?
Think of what?
The other 2 wishes. We've only had one.
Wasn't that enough?
No. We'll have one more. Go and get it and wish our son alive again.
You're insane.
I want my son back. I want to see my son.
You don't know what you're saying.
We had our first wish granted. Why not a second?
It was a coincidence.
Go and get it and wish.
He's been dead 10 days. I didn't want to tell you this, but I could only identify him by his clothes. He was mangled in the machinery. If it was too terrible for you to see then, how would it be now?
Bring him back.
Mr. White goes slowly upstairs, followed by his wife. He takes the paw and stares at it.
Wish. Wish.
This is foolish and wicked.
Wish. 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 Wish.
I wish my son alive again. Ah!
He drops the paw and sinks, trembling, into a chair. Mrs. White runs to the window and stands looking out. The clock ticks. The stairs creak. Finally.
What's that?
A mouse. It was just a mouse in the wall.
Oh, it's Herbert. It's our son. Of course it took him this long to get here. The cemetery is
What are you
so
going
far.
to do?
It's Herbert.
No.
Let go of me so I can open the door.
Don't let him in.
Let go of me so I can open the door.
No.
I'm here,
Don't.
Herbert. I'm right here.
Don't open it.
The lock, it's stuck.
Leave it alone,
Help me with
please.
this door.
Please
I can't
don't.
get it open.
You
Herbert,
can't.
I'm
Please
here.
don't
Just
open
wait.
that door.
Herbert,
Don't.
I'm coming.
Don't
Help me
open
with
it,
this
please.
door.
Give
Help
me the paw.
No, help me with this door. Herbert, I'm coming.
Give me the paw.
Coming. Please help me. Herbert,
Don't.
Wait.
My third and final wish.
It stopped. What did you say? What did you wish?
And with his third and final wish, the knocking stopped. Mrs. White ran down the path beyond the gate. The street lamp flickering opposite shone on a quiet and deserted road. Truly a tale of being careful what you wish for. Well, we couldn't wish for a more exciting conclusion to our evening of ghost stories. With us tonight is our special guest, Chad Lewis, researcher, author, and lecturer. Chad has spent the last 30 years searching out unique and bizarre stories from around the world. He's going to share with us some paranormal tales, some of which happened right here in Wisconsin. Please welcome Chad Lewis. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for your patience. And please welcome once again, Chad Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the festival for having me here this evening. But just as important, all of you who were brave enough to show up to talk about Wisconsin's most haunted locations here on Friday the 13th on a chilly evening. As you heard, my name's Chad Lewis. I'll be your last presenter for this program. And although my background is actually in the field of psychology, I've spent the last 30 years traveling the world in search of the strange and unusual. Everything from hunting for vampires in Transylvania, looking for the Loch Ness Monster, crop circles, UFOs, alien abductions, some really, really weird people. Yeah, well, some scary places. You name it, if it's just a little offbeat and odd, I've traveled the globe in search of it. But what I found on my travels is that sometimes the weirdest things happen right in your own backyard. So that's what we're going to explore tonight. Some of Wisconsin's strangest stories of hauntings, spirits, and ghosts. For the next 20 minutes, you can sit back and relax. I'll provide you everything you need to know. The background, the folklore, the eyewitness accounts. I'll talk about my research at these places. Heck, I'll even provide you the directions to get to these places. But I'm going to leave it up to each and every one of you to travel to these places on your own and determine for yourself whether or not you believe the stories are true. So with that, sit back and relax. These are going to be some of my favorites that are more family friendly than some others. So with that, let's explore our most haunted places in our state. Now, being that we're in Wisconsin, I'm legally obligated to start with the Haunted Supper Club. And one of my favorites is in Minocqua. Beautiful old Norwood pines. If you're looking for a historic, great Wisconsin supper club, you need to stop in here. It's such a wonderful place that during the 1930s, all the Prohibition era gangsters made their way up to Minocqua out at Norwood Pines. It's a historic old building where lots of weird things seem to happen. People will be having a drink when all of a sudden a table or chair is thrown or tipped over by some unseen hand. People will be tapped on the shoulder when they spin around, no one's there. Bartenders and staff hear their name being called out, but again, when they looked, they saw no one. But the most common apparition there is a man named Edgar. Looks like he's wearing the old zoot suit from Prohibition era. It was thought that he stayed there back when the place was a hotbed of activity for the mobsters of Al Capone and John Dillinger making their way up to the Northwoods. He fell in love with one of the ladies of the night that worked there. She did not love him back. This set him off on a state of depression that ended when he took his own life up on the 3rd floor in his sleeping room. Now, many unsuspecting guests staying the day or the night there often see him walking through the bar and then vanishing right into thin air. In fact, when the current owners bought the place, they were told they shouldn't buy it. It's cursed, it's haunted, that it's been haunted for decades. But they're not taking any chances. The owners leave out a drink for Edgar on the table every single night, just in case his spirit makes his way through. But it's one thing for a ghost to be an old Prohibition gangster. It's a little different when your story gets a little bonus as well. You'll see what I mean here with our next legend. The aptly named Devil's Punch Bowl in Menominee, Wisconsin. Not only do you get a ghost story, you get an addition too. Now, most people that go here report seeing weird balls of light, similar to this artist rendition. These lights will float through the area, changing in size, shape, and color as they maneuver their way through. I actually spoke with a group of teenagers that were parked in this makeshift lot, debating whether they should go down into the punch bowl, when they said a ball of light approached their car. They told me the ball of light actually entered inside their car. So I asked them, I said, what did you do when this ball of light came in your car? These young kids looked at me as though I was crazy. They said, we got out of the car. But if you do get out of the car, go down to the punch bowl itself. People have had all sorts of experiences down here. It's thought to be a sacred area of the indigenous people there. People have seen apparitions, they've heard disembodied voices calling out to them. One legend is if you're brave enough to take water from the stream, it will remain cold regardless of what you do to it. Leave it in your car all summer long, it'll still be cold. But my favorite story is not the ghost story here. My favorite story came to me from a woman who was out hiking with their son. Beautiful hiking area. They were leaving, walking up the steps here to go back to their car. When the mother decided to take one last look back at the waterfall, that's when she noticed something was staring back at her. Something that shouldn't be there. Something that couldn't be there. But yet there it was, staring right at her. What was she seeing? Well, maybe I better let you just take a look. This creature! She said it was straight out of a Hollywood movie, what you might call a gnome, a goblin, a troll, an elf, the good people, the hidden ones. She said it looked like, again, right out of a movie, 3 feet tall, pointed ears, pointed cap. She immediately grabbed her son and said, hey, do you see this thing as well? By the time the son turned around, the creature had either run through the woods and disappeared, or just traveled into the tunnel and disappeared in front of their eyes. She was a little embarrassed and shy about reporting this because she knew how it sounded, a gnome or elf in Wisconsin. But what she didn't know is that over the last 30 years, I've collected half a dozen places in our state that all have a very similar story of the little people running around as well. But if you thought these first two stories were bizarre, and they were, these next stories are going to be beyond strange. Today, a lot of you probably have not heard of the small town of Steinthal, Wisconsin. The reason being is there's not much there anymore today. But back in the 1970s and 80s, this was the paranormal hotspot of Wisconsin. Mainly because teenagers and college-age kids believed that this old abandoned farmhouse on the outskirts of town was haunted. They'd go out there far from the prying eyes of law enforcement or their parents. They would go out there and claim to see other people walking around inside the building. But when they went inside, no one was there. Others would walk in and see lights flickering on and off. But when they went inside, again, completely empty. The only thing they found were strange dolls people put up inside to scare one another going out there. As more and more people went out there to see the haunted legend, they started exploring the property, which at that time was surrounded by marshy swampland, which you can kind of see here in this old newspaper photo of the swampland surrounding the area. That's when people started seeing a monster lurking about the swamps. A Bigfoot-looking creature, your typical Sasquatch, 6 to 8 feet tall, covered in a thick matted down fur, a biped walking on its hind legs like you and I. But people started seeing it a little bit different than your traditional Sasquatch, because this thing seemed to be more of a swamp monster because it had glowing green eyes that were reported. And when I say eyes, I mean eyes. 3 of them to be exact. They had no idea what to call this thing, so they called it the Thing. People would gather out in front of the Steinthal Tavern, which is long gone, but they would sit out on the front of the tavern with their drinks because right across the street is where the creature would often be spotted and then vanish back into the depths of the marshy wetland. But here's the interesting part. I've spoken with the last remaining citizens of Steinthal. There have been no known recent sightings of the thing, which then begs the question, was it ever there? Is it still there? Did it migrate off somewhere else? I'll let you travel to Steinthal and come to your own conclusion. Believe it or not, this is the most common question people ask me. Where can I go to spend the night in a haunted place? Well, if you have that macabre sense of adventure, you're in luck. Because in Wisconsin, we have all sorts of haunted lodging options for you. From hotels, motels, B&Bs, campgrounds, resorts, and the like. One of my favorites is down the road in Milwaukee, the old Pfister Hotel. Now, some of you have been. Now, this is a gorgeous, upstanding, wonderful place to spend the night. You'll love it here. It is a wonderful hotel in a great part of Milwaukee. In fact, the hotel is so magnificent that they brag that every single president since McKinley has stayed at the hotel while visiting Wisconsin. And I know what you're thinking. How fun can it be? McKinley doesn't look like he's having a good time there. But remember, royalty has stayed at the hotel as well. In the 1970s, the king himself was there. For some of you younger folks, this is Elvis Presley. Think of the Taylor Swift of the day, if you will. So Elvis was there, giving it much more of a cool factor. But the place is so great that Mr. Pfister himself refuses to leave, even though he died over 100 years ago. Many guests and staff members will see his spirit walking through the hallway and then vanish into a wall or disappear right before their eyes. He's reported to be a well-dressed man walking through the place as though he owns it. Well, if it is Mr. Pfister's ghost, he does own the place, or at least he once did. While alive, he was a lover of dogs. He would always have dogs with him at the hotel, which may be why so many staff members report seeing and hearing phantom dogs inside the hotel. They'll often get a call to the front desk, someone complaining that the person next to them is letting their dog bark all night. But when they go into the room, they find no one's rented it for the evening, no dogs in there, living or not, and the place is completely empty. Staff members also have trouble with the artwork in the building. They'll come in, it'll be crooked, they'll fix it, next day it's askew again. It's believed that it's Mr. Pfister keeping them on their toes, making sure they're always keeping the hotel in tip-top shape. You might have heard of this hotel recently because last summer it made international news because this is the hotel where the teams who come in to play the Milwaukee Brewers, this is where they stay while they're in Milwaukee. Or I should say, this is where they used to stay. Too many of them now get their own Airbnb because they're afraid to stay at the hotel because of too much ghostly activity. I think we should force them to stay at the hotel, give the Brewers any help that they can get. But even if you don't believe in ghosts, you'll have a wonderful time staying at the historic hotel in Pfister. But maybe the safety of a building is not where you want to experience ghosts. One of the most ubiquitous urban legends in America is that of the story of the vanishing hitchhiker. Nearly every town has a story, usually a woman on the side of the road. Someone will be passing by, often late at night, thinking maybe she broke down and needs some assistance or help. They pull over to ask what's going on. Sometimes she vanishes right there in front of them. Other times she gets into the car accepting a ride home, and when the driver looks over, she vanishes right before their eyes. And we do have stories of the vanishing hitchhiking woman here in Wisconsin, but we also have a little twist to that as well. and that is on Highway 16 through the Baraboo, Wisconsin Dell, Highway 12, I'm sorry, the old 12, Business 12, not the new 12, going through the Dells and Baraboo and all the way north and south. Because this is when people will be driving, usually at night, but not always, when all of a sudden, down the road, they see a man hitchhiking in front of them. Of course, no one picks up a hitchhiker today, but they do slow down, thinking, why would somebody be hitchhiking at this time of the night? Or who would pick somebody up in the evening? And then they go about their way, making sure not to hit the person and forget all about it. And then, a few miles down the road, they're driving again, and the same man is in front of them. Somehow, he got farther down the road than they did. And they're certain it's the same man because they always report that he's wearing an old green army coat like it's been in the basement. A few years back, a woman contacted me saying she saw the vanishing hitchhiker in 2008, and she only noticed his green jacket late at night. Again, like it had been the worst of the wear, stored down in mothballs in the closet. Recently, a gentleman came up to me after the program and said that in the 1980s, he was driving down the highway with his wife during the day when he saw a man on the side of the road hitchhiking. So he went to pull over, and his wife said, "What the heck are you doing?" He said, "I'm picking up this hitchhiker." Remember, it was a different time. And she said, "What hitchhiker? There's no one there." He turned around, couldn't find anyone. He was convinced he had seen a flesh and blood hitchhiker, but came to the conclusion he must have been mistaken until he heard my program of others seeing this phantom ghost. So I'll leave it up to you to go down 12 and decide whether you're going to pick up any vanishing hitchhikers for yourself. But this isn't the only haunted road we have here in Wisconsin. One of my favorite places is right outside of Seymour, not too far from Green Bay, a mysterious place called Chicken Alley. Now I say it's mysterious because legend is, no matter how many times you try or how many cameras you use, you will not be able to snap a photograph of the street sign because it will disappear right before your eyes. Of course, if you use my camera, you'll capture it right there, but that's beside the point. For years, people have been driving down this road and have had weird encounters. A lot of people have been driving through when they'll see balls of light and weird vanishing apparitions on the side of the road. But it's also here, unsuspecting motorists driving through, when all of a sudden they slam on the brakes and brace for impact because they believe they've encountered phantom chickens on Chicken Alley. Now, not exactly phantom chickens. At first, they think they're real chickens crossing the road. They'll slam on their brakes, get out to assess the damage and the roadkill, only to find that no one's there, no animals, no damage, no chickens whatsoever. Others have been driving down the road when they see what appear to be phantom chickens crossing in front of them. Some are so convinced that they've inquired to some of the houses to see if anyone's missing any of their chickens because they're so convinced they had run over a phantom chicken. But the story gets even better than phantom chickens, and that involves the crossroads of Chicken Alley and French Road. Now, any student of folklore will recognize the significance of a crossroads. It was said that if you ever wanted to make a deal with the devil for your soul, the deal would have to be done at a crossroads. That's where the bargain would have to be completed. So it's only fitting that the legend tells that if you walk out into the crossroads, you will hear the voice of an angry man yelling at you to get out of the road. Get out of the road. If you do not heed his advice, it is said you'll be cursed with bad luck until the day you die. I've done hundreds and hundreds of these dares from around the world. 99% of them are always bad things will happen to you. Mishap, misfortune, or death. It's never anything good that if you try the dare, you'll win the lottery or find true love. So do these dares at your own risk. But as I'm running low on my time, I'm going to end with the type of case you haven't heard me talk about this evening, because it's a private home. Now, I've spoken in this area quite a bit, and people often come up and tell me stories of their own experiences. I like to put this last for two main reasons. One, out of all the stories I hear, the overwhelming majority of people believe that it's their own house that is haunted. Some of them know who may be haunting it. They smell grandma's perfume on the anniversary of her death, or uncle's cookies being baked, cigar smoke. Some have no idea who or what may be haunting their place. Believe it or not, some people are okay with it. It doesn't bother them. They become accustomed to it. Others, as you can imagine, would rather get out of there as fast as they can. And they all report very similar things happening. Mysterious knocking and rapping on their doors and windows, objects moving on their own or vanishing for months on end and then reappearing in the most obvious of places. Lights flickering on and off, electrical disturbances, furniture being rearranged. When they go out for the movies or a bite to eat and come back, things are moved around, but nothing is ever found missing. But the second reason I like to put this last is because I hope after all the ghost stories you've heard this evening, that this one sticks with you. That later tonight, when all of you head home and put your head down on your pillows and you hear the wind rustling outside your window, I want you to ask yourself, is it possible, just maybe, that you're living in a haunted house as well? And maybe it wasn't the wind howling outside. So with that, I want to thank you all for sticking around in the cold for some ghost stories, and have a creepy night.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed yet another evening of ghost stories. Can we have another hand for all of our performers? And a hand for the Dodge County Historical Society and their board for putting this together. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, and hopefully we'll see you and some friends next year.